Per PW Insider, we've got to talk about Hulk Hogan here. Hulk Hogan almost came back to WWE in Saudi Arabia at the Greatest Royal Rumble. And I read that and I just thought to myself, there is something that would have felt very, very wrong about Hulk Hogan making his big return to Real American in Saudi Arabia. And so I'm glad it did not happen there. But the website claims that WWE was watching very closely this past week when Hogan was inducted into the Boys and Girls Club Alumni Hall of Fame. In his speech, Hogan talked about educating children and learning from past mistakes. So publicly, he is saying all of the right things. WWE, I guess, wanted to monitor the reaction to Hogan's induction to see what the public reaction would be, if there was even any public reaction, and if it would cause any headaches, and it didn't. I mean, I didn't hear anybody say one bad thing about Hogan going into the Hall of Fame. So, we are probably a lot closer to Hogan coming back than not. Another sign, Hogan did a radio interview, I believe, in Philly this past week. At the end of the interview, after Hogan walked out of the studio, the host, who I'm sure talked to Hogan off air and interacted with him, on the air, the host claimed that Hogan was almost done with a deal with WWE. And WWE put a statement out making it very clear that Hogan is not currently under contract. They did not deny the fact that they've had conversations with him, that he may soon be under contract. All they said was, Hulk Hogan is not under contract at this time to WWE. That is hardly a denial that there are conversations going on between the two sides. And as far as the whole Saudi Arabia thing and why it almost happened and ultimately didn't, apparently members of the Saudi royal family were the ones who were involved in bringing WWE there in the first place. They specifically asked for a certain number of names to be on this show. Hulk Hogan was one of the names that they asked to be on this show. And this would lend credence to what Dave Meltzer reported in The Observer, which I admit, when I first read this, I just thought this is ridiculous. There's no way this is true. Having heard that, it probably is true. He talked about it in The Observer that, members of the royal family requested The Undertaker, The Ultimate Warrior, and Yokozuna all be on that Greatest Royal Rumble show. They got The Undertaker. If it didn't seem weird enough that Undertaker would come back so soon after WrestleMania and wrestle a random match against Rusev, it certainly would make sense that it was a personal request from the people hosting the show who wanted him there, so they got him. The other two would have required one hell of a magic trick to pull off, but that would explain what was his name again? Hiroki Sumi or Hiroku Sumi, I think was his name. He was the sumo who was in the Royal Rumble match for about 15 seconds before Mark Henry dumped him out. They actually wanted Yokozuna in the match and did not realize that Yokozuna has been dead for almost 18 years. So WWE literally went out and got a different sumo, a real sumo wrestler, an actual sumo in this case, to, I don't know, either pretend that it was Yokozuna and maybe they wouldn't notice, or just to satisfy their desire to have a big fat Japanese guy in the match. Who knows? I don't know, but that's one of the funniest things I've heard in a long time. And they're supposedly coming back in November. They may be back in Saudi Arabia yet again this year, as early as this November for another show. I can't wait to see what happens when the Saudi prince requests the straight edge man with all the tattoos to be on the show.